Welcome to OOTO TV, the out-of-the-office investigation from the past into the future of marine navigation and autopilot technology. This time we're discussing requirements specification for marine navigation and piloting tool for both inshore and offshore global navigation.
That's right.
We are essentially building the ultimate blueprint today, defining exactly what a system needs to be, if it's going to guide vessels safely and efficiently everywhere, across every sea on the planet.
It's a huge task, a mission of enormous complexity, really. Because when you design something truly global, well, you can't just rely on good software. You need this foundational specification, this blueprint that covers absolutely everything.
Everything.
And it has to be clearly defined step by step. We need to meet three primary categories. Audience needs, first off, then the really stringent technical requirements, and maybe most critically, safety regulations and restrictions for travel. That's our framework.
That framework sounds perfect. Okay, so today we're cutting through all that complexity. We're going to look at the high precision positioning systems, definitely. The need for real-time data integration. Super important. How cyber resilience fits in.
Oh, yeah.
And we absolutely have to spend time on the lessons learned, from the maritime world's really profound safety failures. It's that convergence of code and, sometimes calamity that makes this so fascinating.
It really is. It's where the technology hits the reality of the ocean. Hard sometimes.
Absolutely. So let's start with the non-negotiables. What are the key elements for this requirements specification for marine navigation and piloting tool for both inshore and offshore global navigation? What does the system fundamentally need to ingest and manage?
Well, the absolute core element, the lifeblood of this whole specification, it's real-time comprehensive data management.
Okay.
So the system incorporates existing databases. So we're talking charts, maps, known passages, channels, obstacles, depths, traffic, weather data, all the baseline stuff.
Right, the library.
Exactly. But the really crucial part is that it updates maps and the vessel's course in real time. It has to.
Yeah.
Using satellite data plus continuous data streams from the onboard vessel sensors.
The bloat sensors, as the source material called them.
Yeah, essentially all the sensors providing state data. This means processing GPS, depth, speed, currents, fuel consumption, and constantly recalculating the desired course and that all-important estimated time of arrival. Constantly.
Wow. Okay, so that statement alone tells me we are way past simple latitude and longitude fixes now. This is hyper-precise environmental awareness territory.
Yes.
And speaking of precision, standard GPS, the one using the CA or course and acquire code for basic SPS fixing, that just doesn't cut it anymore, does it? Not for safe coastal navigation. We must have enhanced positioning.
We start immediately with differential GPS or DGPS. That's essential. It dramatically improves accuracy, taking it from maybe 10 meters down to less than a meter.
It's a huge difference.
Massive. And it works by using fixed monitored stations on shore. They calculate the error in the GPS signal in that local area and transmit corrections directly to the ship's receiver.
And the infrastructure's there.
Oh yeah, it's robust. The U.S. Coast Guard maintains a vast maritime DGPS network across North America. You see similar high coverage along the U.K. coastline too, using points like Flamborough Head, Lizard Rock. This system is really the baseline for high-precision inshore work.
But, okay, what happens when you're mid-Atlantic, far from any fixed DGPS station? The spec for offshore global navigation that demands redundancy, surely. We can't put all our eggs in the GPS basket.
No, absolutely not. And that's why the requirements still acknowledge complementary systems.
Yeah.
Things like Lorenzi, even if some consider them legacy.
Right.
The fact is, modern WAN receivers, like, say, the Furuno Model LC90 Mark II, they're incredibly resilient. They offer that vital redundancy and, crucially, anti-jamming capabilities.
Which GPS can be vulnerable to.
Exactly. These Loran systems, they display time difference readings with phenomenal precision. We're talking at least 1/10 of a microsecond. And they use critical features like notch filters to eliminate sinusoidal interference, making sure the signal is clean, even in noisy electrical environments on board. It's all about building a navigation tool that cannot fail, even if the primary satellite link has issues.
That microsecond precision, it really emphasizes the level of detail we're aiming for here. Okay, now let's jump to the the ultimate connectivity question, the one everyone asks about future global transport.
I think I know where you're going.
Yeah. Can we connect to both Starlink type of satellite systems and use library data to relay time updates? For new geographic regions, new weather data, specifically for this marine navigation and piloting tool, both inshore and offshore. Is that ubiquitous high bandwidth communication a mandatory requirement yet?
Well, the architecture for it. It's already proven, even if the specific tech like Starlink is newer and evolving. Think about systems like Inmarsat. They've demonstrated this capability for a long time, providing instant priority access for distress alerts, ensuring that GMDSS radio networks worldwide.
Right, established systems.
And we've seen other high-capacity systems in action, too. Things like the Globe I-250 fleet broadband system that was used on vessels like the ill-fated El Faro for communications and real-time data exchange.
A somber reminder of the stakes.
Indeed. And also consider wireless asset management, or WAM technology, that combines GPS and mobile comms to remotely monitor and control specialized assets like refrigerated container temperatures and location right across the high seas. So the requirement for a global real-time data link, it isn't some future wish. It's an existing functional necessity built upon these kinds of frameworks.
That makes sense. That global data transfer then brings us right back to the sensors on the ship, the detailed onboard inputs painting that full picture of the ship's status. What are the essential vessel inputs that absolutely must feed into the navigation tool? Through protocols like NMEA, presumably?
Yeah, NMEA is the standard interface.
Yeah.
And we absolutely need systems providing accurate depth, speed, and consumption metrics. For depth, echo standards are mandatory, of course, but the system specification needs intelligence. It has to account for variables like the velocity of sound waves in seawater, typically around 1,500 meters per second.
And beam width.
Critical. The beam width must not be too narrow, or the system risks literally missing important subsurface features or hazards. For speed, we rely on Doppler speed logs and electromagnetic speed logs for accuracy through the water and over the ground.
And I know regulators are focusing intensely on efficiency now. Fuel consumption must be in there.
Oh, absolutely. That's a critical input, both for efficiency and for regulatory compliance. So we require fuel consumption measurement devices. The source mentioned the KRAL OMP013 as an example.
Why specify a part number like that?
Because its specification demands exceptional accuracy, 0.1%. That kind of precision is vital, not just for knowing how much fuel is left, obviously, but for emissions reporting, accurate logistics planning. It usually connects via something like Modbus to track consumption for all fuel types, providing the granular data needed to verify performance against voyage projections. It's all connected.
You're listening to OOTO TV with research by author Paul Bolillo.
Okay.
That was a really thorough look at the technical foundation. Impressive stuff. Now, let's shift gears to the second pillar of the specification, the user experience. Because after gathering all this high-precision real-time data, well, you have to make it genuinely useful for the people on the bridge.
Absolutely. It's pointless otherwise.
So how can marine navigation and piloting systems for both inshore and offshore global navigation provide a high-quality experience for the user? What does that look like in practice?
Well, that high-quality experience, it really hinges entirely on the display systems. Specifically, the Electronic Chart Display and Information System, or ECDIS. That's the centerpiece.
The main screen, essentially.
Right. And the specification mandates vector charts. These are fundamentally superior to old paper charts or even raster scans. Why? Because they allow layered information.
Meaning you can turn things on and off?
Exactly. You can selectively display only the data you need for the current task. You get seamless transitions between chart sections, no more flipping pages. And you can zoom without distortion, which is huge.
I love that ability to interrogate charted objects, too. You see a buoy, a hazard on the screen. You click it and instantly pull up every detail about it, instead of hunting through publications.
Precisely. Saves critical time. Furthermore, ECDIS must meet strict requirements for safety. That includes calculating safety contours based on the vessel's draft and generating automatic anti-grounding warnings if the projected course conflicts with a known hazard or shallow water.
Proactive safety.
Yes. And supporting this is the Conning Information Display, or CID functionality. The CID is essentially the bridge dashboard. It clearly presents the status and value of every relevant sensor input speed, depth, engine RPM, rudder angle, right alongside the actual orders being given to steering and propulsion. Everything in one place.
Sounds like systems integration is absolutely key there. I also recall the sources mentioning optimizing the physical environment of the bridge itself.
Yes, even the layout matters for user experience through ergonomics. To reduce noise and heat, which are huge factors in bridge fatigue, let me tell you the system specification often incorporates KVM technology.
KVM.
Keyboard, video, mouse extenders. It allows the physical computers, the noisy boxes, to be moved out of the control room entirely, maybe into a server rack somewhere else. This keeps the bridge quiet and cool. Meanwhile, the operators maintain full access via their peripherals, screens, keyboards, trackballs. A quiet, cool, ergonomic bridge improves decision-making. It's a subtle requirement, but absolutely critical.
That level of detail brings us squarely to the third pillar, mandated compliance and safety. Because this whole blueprint, this system, it operates within a really dense regulatory framework, and one that's constantly shifting.
It absolutely is, and we really must state this clearly. The requirement specification for marine navigation and piloting tool for both inshore and offshore global navigation vary. They vary by region, by the size and type of vessel, by local laws and situations, weather, specific events. Even tradition can play a role sometimes. Compliance is never just a simple one-size-fits-all checklist.
Right. Can you give us an example of how that variance shows up in the real world?
Sure. Just contrast international safety mandates with specific domestic regulations. Internationally, GMDSS carriage requirements, the global distress and safety system radios depend entirely on the operational sea area the vessel trades in. Is it A1, A2, A3, or A4 waters?
Different equipment needed.
Exactly. A vessel operating only in coastal A1 areas has a far simpler, cheaper GMDSS fit-out requirement than a vessel trading globally through A4 polar regions. Then domestically, you look at something like the U.S. Jones Act. That dictates that coastwise shipping port to port within the U.S. must be carried by U.S.-built vessels with predominantly U.S. crews, including the master. That single law fundamentally alters the required crew management modules within any navigation or ship management tool operating near or within the U.S. coast.
Fascinating. And we see the classification society is adapting to specialized vessel types too, right?
Yes, constantly. Mira Veritas, for example, they had to issue a whole new rule, an R645, specifically for floating storage and regasification units, FSRUs.
Why the special rule?
Because an FSRU's operating profile is pretty unique. It might be moored long-term in one location, acting as an import terminal, regasifying LNG. Or it could be trading shorter periods, just like a standard LNG carrier. The safety systems, stability requirements, mooring requirements, they're drastically different for those two profiles. So the specification controls within the ship systems have to accommodate that duality.
It's clear the technical requirements are incredibly demanding, but here's my 10% contrary note. The most rigorous technical requirements, the best ECDIS, the most precise DGPS, they often seem to crash headlong into simple human failure.
Sadly, yes.
We mandate systems like AIS fitting on ships over 300 gross tonnage. Great. But accident investigations still reveal these massive gaps in basic fundamental procedure. UK investigators, when they looked into the Scott Explorer accident, they highlighted the frequent dangerous lack of a proper lookout, and often no second person on the bridge at all, despite it being a firm requirement. That led directly to a collision.
You are entirely right. The human element, it's the ultimate safety requirement, or perhaps the ultimate failure point. And if the requirements specify the machine perfectly, they must also specify, or at least account for, human behavior.
And the El Faro.
The tragic sinking of the El Faro is just the definitive, heartbreaking case study in ineffective bridge resource management, or BRM. The investigation found that crew members who were genuinely worried about the ship's route heading towards Hurricane Joaquin, they voiced their concerns as just hints, preferences, or queries, not as direct, assertive commands or warnings.
That detail is just chilling. BRM training stresses assertiveness, the duty to speak up forcefully if you see danger. Yet in that moment of crisis, professional concerns got diluted into mere suggestions.
Exactly. And this was compounded by the finding that the captain was apparently alone on the bridge for critical periods and potentially distracted by other tasks. The NTSB was very clear. The lack of assertiveness from the mates on 3 different occasions when they called the captain about the hazardous route, that was a key factor. It just underscores that no matter how precise your DGPS is or how clear your ECDIS display looks, the system specification must somehow account for and demand effective human execution. There were suggestions the captain was under pressure to maintain schedule, maybe influenced by career ambitions tied to new LNG ships, leading to high-risk, ultimately non-compliant decision-making under pressure.
You're listening to OOTO-TV with research by author Paul Bulow.
Okay.
Let's try and synthesize these crucial points then. We've basically established these 3 non-negotiable pillars for the specification, haven't we? First, there's the technical mastery, high-precision DGPS, resilient backups like Lorentz-C, granular fuel measurement like that KRAL OMP013 example.
Yes, nuts and bolts.
Right. Second, the user experience defined by things like intuitive vector charts on ECDIS, those safety contours, the integrated conning information display, even the ergonomics of the bridge.
Making it usable.
And third, mandated safety governed by international rules like GMDSS, specific domestic laws like the Jones Act, and critically, the proper implementation of bridge resource management procedures.
The human and regulatory overlay. And moving forward, we absolutely have to state, requirements specification for marine navigation and piloting tool for both inshore and offshore global navigation are updated and evaluated on an ongoing basis. They have to be, to incorporate needs and desires for new features, new benefits, and of course, changes to existing regulations and requirements for marine travel. It's never static.
That constant evolution, it's clearly being driven hard by technology now. We see the classification societies building this future into their rule sets as we speak. Class NK, for instance, has an R&D roadmap that's heavily focused on IT integration. We're talking artificial intelligence, advanced image processing, sophisticated data analysis, all of which are going to be baked into the next generation of navigation tools.
And alongside that comes cyber resilience. That has to be part of the spec now. Lloyd's Register has already implemented the first marine-type approval system specifically for cyber-enabled components.
What does that do?
It's an assurance system. It defines the quality and resilience required to make sure that smart technology, things like predictive maintenance algorithms, remote monitoring systems, can operate safely and securely without being compromised, especially vital in the harsh, connected marine environment.
This really is the data revolution transforming maritime transport, isn't it? Digital twins, predictive maintenance. These were huge topics even years ago at conferences like Europort 2017.
They dominate the conversation now.
So as we look at the immense capability of these systems, monitoring every single metric in real time, from engine health analysis down to precise container location tracking. And given the high risks and, frankly, fatal consequences we've discussed from past human failures like loss of lookouts or ineffective BRM, here's a final thought for you, the listener. How does this increasing technical capability for remote monitoring and intelligent vessels fundamentally reshape the legal and ethical requirements placed on the remaining human crew members? Does the sheer abundance of perfect real-time performance data demand a new, perhaps higher kind of human oversight on the bridge? Or does it ultimately pave the way for true autonomy, less human intervention?
That tension between human accountability and increasingly intelligent automation,
Right.
That's absolutely going to define the next generation of navigation requirements. It's the key question.
Thank you for joining us on OOTO TV for this investigation into the complex blueprint guiding global marine navigation.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning about the technology shaping the future of our seas. Dismissed.